Before you continue, pause for a moment. This message is not meant for everyone watching. Most people will hear these words and feel nothing. They will scroll past, distracted, unchanged, but a very small number of people will feel something shift the moment this message begins. A sense of recognition, a quiet inner confirmation. If that is happening to you right now, it is not accidental. December 15th is not just a date, it is a threshold, and thresholds are only visible to those who have been prepared to cross them. Over the past months, you may have felt pressure without clarity, endings without explanation, a sense that something in your life was closing, even if you could not name it. You may have felt protected in strange ways, guided away from danger at the last second, or detached from people and situations that once felt essential. These were not random events. They were signs. Right now, 7 powerful blessings are activating for a specific group of people, chosen ones who have endured silently, grown without recognition, and stayed aligned when it would have been easier to compromise. These blessings do not arrive loudly. They activate quietly, permanently, and in sequence. Most people are not meant to know this. In fact, hearing it too early would only confuse them. But if you are here, watching this now, it means your timing is exact. As you listen, notice what resonates without effort. Notice what feels familiar, not new. That recognition is important. Before the video continues, comment one word below that describes what you are feeling right now. Only a few chosen ones will understand why this matters, and only they are meant to comment. The first blessing does not arrive with noise, announcements, or visible proof. It moves in silence. It works beneath the surface of your life, where the deepest patterns live. This is why many people miss it. But chosen ones feel it immediately, even if they cannot explain it. Something subtle shifts inside you, like a weight you carried for years is finally being lifted. This cycle was never obvious. It was not a single event or one mistake. It was a repeating pattern woven into your life over time. A pattern of emotional exhaustion, delayed rewards, and constant self-sacrifice. You gave your loyalty, your effort, your energy, often without receiving the same in return. You stayed patient when others gave up. You stayed hopeful when outcomes kept falling short. This was not because you were weak. It was because you were being trained. Some cycles are chosen, others are inherited. This one belonged to the latter. It came through family dynamics, early responsibilities, social expectations, or emotional roles you were forced to play before you were ready. You learned to be strong early. You learned to endure. You learned to keep going, even when recognition never came. December 15th marks the moment this cycle loses its authority over your life. This does not mean everything changes overnight. What changes is the grip. The invisible pull that kept you repeating the same emotional loops begins to dissolve. You may notice that situations that once drained you no longer affect you the same way. Conversations end sooner. Conflicts feel unnecessary. Emotional reactions soften without effort. People may drift away, not because of drama, but because the energetic contract has expired. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need closure. The separation feels natural, almost mutual. This is not rejection. It is alignment correcting itself. You may also notice that certain problems resolve without you intervening. Issues that once demanded your attention simply disappear. This is the universe removing what you no longer need to manage. You were never meant to carry everything. For chosen ones, endings are rarely dramatic. They are quiet, final, and precise. The universe does not rush its strongest vessels. It allows them to grow under pressure until they no longer break. That is why you struggled longer than others. That is why your path felt delayed. You are not being punished. You are being refined. When this cycle ends, it ends completely. There is no return to old emotional debts, no revisiting drained connections, no repeating lessons you have already mastered. The door does not slam, it simply locks. If something feels like it is fading from your life right now, do not chase it. Do not question your worth. Do not try to hold on to what no longer fits. That impulse to let go is wisdom, not weakness. What leaves now does so because it cannot follow you into the next phase. This blessing is subtle, but it is foundational. Without it, nothing new could truly begin. Release creates space. Space invites clarity, and clarity prepares you for what comes next. The closing of this hidden cycle is proof that your endurance has been recognized. You are no longer meant to survive. You are meant to move forward, lighter, clearer, and finally free. Until now, your protection arrived in fragments. It showed up at the last possible moment, just in time to save you, but never early enough to spare you the stress. You survived situations that should have ended you emotionally, financially, or spiritually. You walked away from moments that could have altered your entire future in the worst way. Again and again, something unseen stepped in before it was too late. Those were not coincidences, they were rehearsals. From December 15th onward, protection is no longer temporary. It becomes constant. It stops arriving only in emergencies and begins surrounding you as a steady force. This is one of the clearest signs that your season has changed. Permanent protection does not mean life becomes perfect. It means life becomes guided. The chaos that once followed you begins to lose interest. Problems no longer pile up the same way. Situations that once escalated now dissolve quietly before they gain momentum. You may notice that people who once stirred drama simply fade out. Arguments that once drained your energy never fully form. Plans that once felt risky suddenly align with unexpected ease. Doors open without resistance. Delays turn into redirections instead of dead ends. This is not luck. Luck is random. This is precision. The universe protects those who have proven they can be trusted with stability. You stayed ethical when you could have been ruthless. You chose restraint when revenge would have felt justified. You walked away when staying would have allowed you to win in the wrong way. Those choices mattered. Protection becomes permanent when your inner alignment becomes stable. You are no longer pulled by ego, desperation, or fear. Your decisions come from clarity instead of reaction. That is why the universe can now work ahead of you instead of constantly cleaning up behind you. This protection works quietly. You may never know how many things were blocked before they reached you. You may never see how many wrong turns were removed from your path. That is how real protection functions. It keeps danger from becoming visible in the first place. You will begin to feel safer making long-term decisions. Your nervous system starts to relax. You stop bracing for impact. You stop expecting something to go wrong. This inner calm is not naive, it is earned. Permanent protection also sharpens your instincts. You sense when to move and when to pause. You feel when something is not meant for you, even if it looks good on the surface. This awareness keeps you from stepping into situations that would have cost you peace. The strongest sign of this blessing is ease, not laziness, but flow. You expend less energy defending yourself and more energy building your future. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop justifying your growth. What once required force now responds to intention. This protection clears your path, not so you can escape life, but so you can finally walk forward without resistance. You are no longer meant to fight for survival. You are meant to focus on purpose. From this point on, what is not meant for you will struggle to reach you, and what is meant for you will arrive without strain. That is the quiet power of permanent protection. This blessing often arrives without warning, and that is what makes it so powerful. You do not change your appearance. You do not raise your voice. You do not announce anything new about yourself. Yet suddenly, the way people respond to you shifts. Conversations slow when you speak. Opinions are considered instead of dismissed. Your presence carries weight it did not carry before. This is not coincidence. It is maturity of energy. For a long time, you may have felt overlooked or underestimated, not because you lacked value, but because your depth was ahead of its time. Chosen ones are often invisible until their inner foundation is strong enough to hold recognition without being consumed by it. Attention comes only when you are ready to carry it with balance. December 15th activates a new frequency around you. This frequency is subtle but unmistakable. It communicates confidence without arrogance, authority without force, and clarity without explanation. People sense it instinctively. They feel grounded around you even if they cannot identify why. Your words begin to land differently because they are no longer fueled by the need to prove anything. When you speak now, it comes from lived experience rather than desire for approval. That is why people listen. Truth spoken without urgency carries power. Opportunities begin to emerge through conversations that feel ordinary on the surface. A comment you make in passing sparks interest. A quiet observation opens a door. These moments may not feel dramatic, but they are significant. Recognition no longer requires performance. It arrives naturally. This shift does not mean universal acceptance. In fact, some people will feel unsettled by your presence. Your calm may challenge their chaos. Your clarity may expose their confusion. This reaction is not your responsibility. Power has always created contrast. Chosen ones do not shrink to be understood. They stand still and allow others to adjust. What changes most is the quality of the people who respond to you. Those who are aligned with your future recognize you quickly. They trust you. They seek your perspective. They see leadership even when you are silent. These are the relationships that matter now. At the same time, surface-level connections lose relevance. You may find small talk exhausting. You may feel less interest in proving yourself or explaining your vision. This is not withdrawal. It is refinement. The universe does not elevate those who demand attention. It elevates those who can hold it responsibly. Your journey prepared you for this shift. Every time you were ignored, you learned patience. Every time you were underestimated, you learned restraint. Those lessons are now visible in your energy. You no longer chase recognition. Recognition finds you. This blessing is not about status. It is about resonance. The right people see you because they are tuned to the same frequency. The wrong ones fade because they cannot meet you where you are. From this point forward, be mindful of how you speak and where you invest your energy. Your influence has expanded. Not everyone deserves access to it. What matters most is not being liked, admired, or followed. What matters is being seen clearly by those who are meant to walk with you into the next chapter. One of the deepest challenges chosen ones face is not strength or discipline. It is attachment. You feel everything fully. You love with intensity. You invest emotionally long after others have withdrawn. Because of this, you often remain in situations that have stopped nourishing you, hoping your patience or understanding will eventually be enough. This blessing changes that pattern. From December 15th onward, detachment begins to happen naturally, without force and without guilt. You are not cutting people off out of anger. You are not closing your heart. You are simply no longer willing to abandon yourself to keep others comfortable. This is not coldness. This is clarity. For a long time, your empathy made you accessible to those who took more than they gave. You explained yourself repeatedly. You waited for growth that never came. You stayed because you understood people's wounds, even when they refused to take responsibility for them. Now, understanding no longer requires self-sacrifice. This blessing teaches you that love does not demand exhaustion. Care does not require constant availability. Loyalty does not mean tolerating imbalance. These realizations do not arrive with bitterness. They arrive with calm certainty. You will notice yourself pausing before responding. You no longer feel the urge to defend your choices or justify your boundaries. Silence becomes comfortable. Distance feels appropriate rather than painful. You stop chasing clarity from people who cannot offer it. This emotional detachment does not numb you. It refines you. You still feel deeply, but you no longer react impulsively. You still love, but you no longer confuse love with obligation. Your heart remains open, yet protected by discernment. This balance is something you could not access before, no matter how hard you tried. As this blessing activates, some relationships may naturally shift or end, not because of conflict, but because the emotional dynamic has changed. You are no longer available for one-sided connections. You no longer carry emotional labor that is not reciprocated. This is not loss. It is self-respect taking form. You may feel moments of unfamiliar peace. Situations that once triggered anxiety no longer disturb you. You begin to trust your emotional responses instead of questioning them. You understand that detachment does not mean you care less. It means you care wisely. The universe does not want you hardened. It wants you protected. A heart that bleeds endlessly cannot build anything lasting. This blessing ensures that your compassion no longer comes at the cost of your well-being. You will still show kindness. You will still offer support when it is aligned, but you will no longer stay where your presence is taken for granted. You will no longer drain yourself, trying to be understood by those who are not listening. This shift marks emotional maturity. You are no longer learning through pain. You are choosing peace without apology. From this point forward, your energy becomes selective. Your love becomes intentional. And your emotional strength finally works for you, not against you. You will still love, but you will no longer bleed for it. This is the most powerful blessing of all because it changes everything without demanding attention. There are no dramatic signs, no sudden announcements, no external proof that your life has shifted. And yet deep within you, something settles. A knowing replaces uncertainty. A calm replaces the constant mental noise. A new chapter begins now, not loudly, but decisively. You may wake up and realize that the fear you used to carry no longer controls your thoughts. The questions that once kept you awake at night begin to lose their urgency. You still care about your future, but you are no longer panicking about it. Decisions feel clearer. Doubt softens. Trust in yourself becomes natural rather than forced. This is not accidental. This is confirmation. The universe has locked in your next phase. When this happens, urgency disappears. You stop chasing timelines. You stop feeling behind. You stop measuring your life against external standards. Instead, you feel grounded in your own rhythm. This inner stability is the true sign that the chapter has changed. Nothing you endured was wasted. Every moment of isolation taught you discipline. Every setback trained your patience. Every delay strengthened your discernment. You were being shaped, not stalled. Now, the qualities you developed in silence are becoming your greatest advantage. The seeds you planted during your hardest moments are finally taking root. They do not sprout all at once. They grow steadily beneath the surface until the structure is strong enough to be seen. This is why you may not notice immediate results. The foundation is forming first. Chosen ones are not rushed into new chapters because they are meant to sustain them. A rushed beginning collapses under pressure. A grounded beginning lasts. You may feel a subtle pull toward responsibility rather than escape. You begin thinking long-term instead of short-term relief. You are less interested in quick wins and more committed to meaningful progress. This shift signals that you are ready to build, not just survive. This new chapter does not demand perfection. It demands presence. You are no longer meant to second-guess every move. You are meant to trust the process you have already earned. December 15th is not just a date, it is a threshold. Thresholds are not crossed by jumping or forcing. They are crossed by recognition. You recognize that you are no longer who you were. You recognize that the old fears no longer define you. You recognize that the future no longer feels distant. It feels prepared. This chapter begins with clarity, not chaos, with intention, not urgency, with alignment, not effort. You may still face challenges, but they will feel purposeful rather than draining. Each step forward will feel anchored. Each decision will feel aligned with who you are becoming. Chosen ones do not leap into new chapters. They cross thresholds when the inner work is complete. And now, that work has been acknowledged. You are not starting over. You are continuing, stronger, steadier, and finally certain of the path ahead. This blessing may not look dramatic from the outside, but it is one of the most life-saving shifts you will ever experience. It protects your time, preserves your energy, and spares you from regrets you no longer need to collect. Discernment becomes sharp when you have learned enough through experience, and you have. From this point forward, you sense misalignment instantly. There is no confusion, no second guessing, no mental gymnastics trying to justify what feels wrong. You simply know. The moment something is not meant for you, your body, mind, and intuition respond in agreement. This clarity is not fear. It is wisdom. In the past, false opportunities may have looked convincing. Promises sounded good. People said the right things. You doubted your instincts and gave chances where none were deserved. Those lessons were painful, but they were necessary. They trained your perception. Now, your intuition no longer hesitates. It speaks clearly and early. You recognize manipulation without needing proof. You sense when words and intentions do not match. You feel when something is being offered at the cost of your peace. This awareness does not make you suspicious. It makes you precise. Discernment is the difference between reaction and choice. With this blessing activated, temptation loses its power. You are no longer drawn to things that sparkle, but carry emptiness underneath. You no longer confuse urgency with opportunity. You can tell the difference between something that challenges you and something that drains you. This shift is a sign of spiritual maturity. You have graduated from learning through loss. You no longer need consequences to teach you what your intuition already knows. The universe allows you to bypass unnecessary struggles because you have proven that you listen. You will notice that your decisions take less time. You do not overanalyze. You do not ask for endless opinions. When something feels off, you step back without explanation. When something feels aligned, you move forward without hesitation. This confidence is not arrogance, it is self-trust restored. You begin choosing people, paths, and opportunities that support your growth instead of testing your endurance. You stop entering situations that require you to shrink, perform, or compromise your values. You no longer negotiate with red flags. Discernment also brings emotional peace. You stop replaying conversations. You stop wondering what you missed. You stop questioning your reactions. Your inner voice becomes consistent, calm, and reliable. This blessing does not make your life smaller. It makes it cleaner. Fewer distractions, fewer detours, fewer emotional debts. Your path narrows, but it strengthens. Every step you take now carries intention. When something feels off, trust it. That signal is not random, it is protection. When something feels aligned, move toward it confidently. That pull is not desire, it is direction. Your intuition is no longer learning, it is leading. This final blessing brings everything into harmony. It does not introduce something new, it reveals what has always been waiting beneath the surface. From December 15th onward, your life begins to organize itself around who you truly are, not the roles you were forced to play, not the expectations placed on you, and not the survival patterns you once needed. This shift feels natural, almost inevitable. For a long time, you may have lived in reaction mode, making choices based on obligation, adjusting your behavior to fit environments that never fully supported you, measuring progress by timelines that were never meant for your path. That phase begins to dissolve. Alignment replaces effort. Your goals start to feel clearer, not because you suddenly know everything, but because confusion no longer clouds your direction. You stop chasing outcomes that do not resonate. You become selective without guilt. You recognize what matters and what does not, with surprising ease. Distractions lose their appeal because your energy becomes focused. You no longer feel pulled in multiple directions. Noise fades. Urgency disappears. What once tempted you now feels empty. This is not discipline, it is resonance. When you are aligned, distractions simply cannot compete. Comparison also loosens its grip. You stop measuring your progress against others because you finally understand that your journey follows a different design. You see that your delays were not failures, they were preparations. You were not behind, you were being built. This understanding brings relief. You begin to feel called toward purpose rather than approval. Decisions are no longer filtered through how they will be perceived. You choose what feels right instead of what looks impressive. Validation becomes optional. Integrity becomes essential. This alignment does not remove challenges from your life. It changes how they feel. Obstacles no longer drain you emotionally. They feel purposeful, even necessary. Each challenge strengthens your direction instead of questioning it. You face resistance without losing momentum. Every step forward feels intentional. Even when progress is slow, it feels meaningful. You no longer question whether you are on the right path. You know you are, because your inner world and outer actions are finally in agreement. This is the reward chosen ones work toward without realizing it. Not ease, not fame, not perfection, alignment. When you are aligned, energy flows, effort feels focused, growth feels natural. You stop forcing life to happen and start cooperating with it. Your life becomes simpler, not smaller. Decisions become cleaner, relationships become more honest, your sense of self becomes stable. Chosen ones are not meant to live ordinary lives, defined by routine or expectation. They are meant to live aligned lives defined by truth and purpose. And alignment is not loud. It does not demand recognition. It does not seek approval. It simply works. From this point forward, trust what pulls you forward and release what weighs you down. Your path is no longer scattered. It is clear, centered, and unfolding exactly as it should. Alignment is not something you chase. It is something you arrive at. If you are still here at the end of this message, that itself is confirmation. Not everyone had the patience, the awareness, or the alignment to stay. Chosen ones always listen to the end because they understand that truth rarely reveals itself all at once. What you have heard today was not meant to excite you. It was meant to steady you. These blessings are not promises for the distant future. They are activations already unfolding. You may not see dramatic changes overnight, but you will feel them in your decisions, in your reactions, in the calm certainty replacing old anxiety. That shift is real, and it is permanent. From this point forward, trust what is leaving your life without explanation. Trust the quiet protection surrounding you. Trust the clarity that is sharpening your intuition. And trust the inner pull guiding you toward purpose instead of approval. These are not random feelings. They are evidence that alignment has begun. Remember this: chosen ones are not rewarded for rushing. They are rewarded for endurance, integrity, and patience. You have already passed the hardest tests, the ones that happened in silence, when no one was watching and no validation was offered. The next chapter will not require you to prove anything. It will require you to stay true. As you move forward, do not feel pressured to explain your growth. Not everyone needs access to your journey. Some people are meant to notice the results, not the process. If this message resonated deeply, sit with it. Let it settle. Notice what feels lighter. Notice what no longer demands your energy. Those changes are not temporary. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time. And for those who understand this message without needing it explained, you already know. This was for you.